Hello and welcome to our course about the Infra Red remote control. Yeah? Infra Red remote control, very usual. Yeah? We have one in our box. This is looking that way. Yeah? Every infrared remote control has somewhere an IRred, infrared LED, yeah? at one end. This is where the signal comes out. Yeah? On the other end, we need some IR receiver. We also have one in our box. Looks like this. This is our IR receiver. Okay. There are 3 pins on this IR receiver. They are marked with G for ground. The R is plus and Y is the signal. Okay. That's it. Every remote control, almost every remote control is working that way. Yeah, of course this is a very cheap model. We'll see if this is working. Sometimes the batteries inside are dead. There is this small little battery inside. Sometimes they are dead, but usually they are working. Yeah? We'll see if this does. Yeah? We will then also try this with one remote control. I just got out of my drawer here. This one. It's from my small radio here, Bluetooth radio, where I couple my PC and flash me with some good music from time to time. We'll see. You also see this IR LED there. Well, we'll see if this is working with our Arduino. Let's start the hardware. I mean, there are 3 cables. This should go very fast. This time I'm using this type of jumper cable where I can directly plug it in. So at G there is the ground, at R there is the plus, and then there is the signal. Okay, so let's plug it in our Arduino. Ground is black, it's going to G and D. White is plus, this is going to 5 volts. And then there is the signal, and the signal needs to be to an I/O pin. I'm using here pin number 5. I will need this afterwards in my program. The breadboard, for this I don't need it. It's just the Arduino. It's just the Arduino with my IR receiver. And it's, of course, the cables got their own nerves. Always. Let's see. Plug it in. Pimpilim, working. There's some red light on my receiver. Nothing is getting hot, so it seems to be correct what I've done. This is the IR remote control, and that's our hardware setup. Not too complicated. Okay. Next time we are doing something else. This time, next thing we are doing, we take care about the software. Save it under a perfect name, keeping the naming convention. And that's not a 33rd program. And this is, I will call it IRremote. Okay, last time I told you, if it looks complicated, then please try to find a library. Yeah? I tell you, decoding this thing is not that easy, yeah. So I've looked up a library for you. We are going to use the library IRremote. Yeah? This again we have to install with our library manager, manage libraries. IRremote. There it is. Yeah? I will install it. Install. As usual, going very fast, we can use it. IRremote. The thing with IRremote is that we can even send things. We cannot just receive codes, we can also send codes. What this means, I will explain during this video. Include IRremote.h. Yeah? And then of course we need, I'm always defining this with a compile time constant, ER data pin, and this was 5. Okay, and you should also get used, you are already used to it, this IRremote.h. This is defining some objects, some types. Yeah? One object is called IR receive. Yeah? And this is a receive object. Receive object, and I would have to pass the data pin. Okay, this is how it is used. Here, this receive object I can use afterwards to get the data from my IR receiver here. And then there is also a new type. This is called decode results. Decode results. And it's called IR data. Okay, IR data. If we open the IRremote library, yeah, and look up, yeah, on the source the IRremote.h, we can see those stuff. Yeah, I've showed you decode results. You see there is an address, there's a value, there's a magnitude, there are a lot of things which can be accessed. Yeah, we are interested in the value afterwards. Okay, so this decode results is a class and we are accessing the member value. Yeah. Make it a little bit bigger so that you can read it. Okay, this is this decode results, and there's also this class IRreceive, and you see the IRreceive constructor, so-called constructor, need this receive pin. Yeah? And there's even a blink pin, so that we could use a flashing. I mean, you see it often on TV sets and so on, that the LED is blinking as soon as an IR code is received. This would be this. Yeah. Okay, and we also use the decode thing. Yeah. Good. Let's go further. I will keep this here. Yeah. I'll keep this here. These are the two things we need to do. Yeah. We will start again a serial communication, and again with 9600 because that's the default baud rate here. And I will write IR remote decoder. So this should be printed once it's ready. Now I need to enable the receiving. From the receive object, I call enable IR in. This is just setting the receive object, the receiver ready. Hey, listen to the receiver. Okay. In the loop we do have if, yeah, and then again receive object, and then there is the method decode, yeah, and we need to give the IR data. Please mind that there is a little plus sign. What does this plus sign mean? This IR data, you see, it's a class of different information. Yeah, that's a pretty big chunk of memory there. It's not unusual big, but it's big. Yeah. So if we pass it now to this function, to the decode function, we would get a copy of this memory, piece of memory. Okay, everything which is in IR data is copied, and then I have a copy of this IR data in my function decode. Okay, this AND here means I'm not really passing the data, I'm only passing the address of the data, where the data can be found. It's a so-called pointer, and the pointer is pointing to exactly this point, to the beginning of the data structure. Okay, it's just some memory address where in the memory this IR data can be found. So I do not have to copy the whole data, I just tell the memory and say, hey, it's at that point in the memory, yeah? Look there it is. Yeah? And these pointers in memory are 4 bytes. Yeah? And this is much smaller than this. This is why this was chosen here, to pass it as a pointer. Okay? Pointers are very usual in C++. It's not always easy to deal with them. Yeah? But this AND sign here is mandatory. Okay? It's not just because it looks prettier. And then we do something. What do we do? Yeah. I will write again my own function. I will call it decode IR. Yeah. So if something was decoded, I will code my function decode IR, yeah, and then I will resume the receiving. This you also have to call that we are ready for the next code. Okay, this means we have to tell somehow, okay, we've noticed we have some code, we received some code, yeah, we received some code, we handled this code, please resume, give us the next code. Okay, so that's it. That's basically it for the loop. What to decode? I'll do it in a switch statement. Switch statement will switch through the possible dates, and I will take these IR data which are written in by this decode function at this point here, at this point in memory. take this IR data, and I will look at the value. Okay, answered long, value. This is the value. And this one I want to look. Yeah? Then there's of course the default value. Yeah? The default value. I will just print out serial.println serial.println unknown code. This is if we don't know the data, okay, which we are receiving, the value which we are receiving. And I can tell you there's one data I know. This is this FF A25D in hexadecimal format. This indicates as hexadecimal, and this is the value. So this is the shows hexadecimal, and this is the value, and this is serial dot, write it in the next line because then it looks much prettier, print line, and this is the power button on our remote control. Okay, break. If we do know other codes, we can just fill in it there. Okay. So let's download, upload. I will never learn. Upload. Open the serial monitor, IR remote controller. I will press the power button, power. Great. Huh? Everything else is an unknown code. It seems like this remote is working. I will take my Philips remote. There seems to be a different code, but at least there is written unknown code. Yeah. The thing here now is that this code, there is a pulse sequence. Maybe this is error. You see? In the camera you can see even a little bit flashing, and this flashing here, this means it's sending something. So the camera's eyes are sensitive to IR signals, and depending on the frequency which this which this LED is flashing, depending on the frequency, we receive another code. It's not only the frequency, there is a little bit more behind. And this code is received by the IR receiver, and this code is decoded by our library, and this library tells us the value which was decoded. So every button press gives another value. If this value, we don't know this value, it's just written there unknown code. This does not mean our IR remote has not properly decoded. It has not been properly decoded. It just means we don't handle the code. Okay. There is also the possibility with this IR remote that you send codes. There's also the possibility that you send codes. If you have an IR LED, you could, for instance, program the Arduino so that it automatically, if you press a button, that you automatically give a series of code to your entertainment system. That the TV is turned on, that the, I don't know, that the Fire Stick is turned on, or whatever things you need to stream your favorite the receiver is turned on, that you can have explosive total surround sound. And so you could even send these codes, if you know the codes of this different elements. Yeah, you can send these codes also. Of course, you need an IR LED, but you know how to plug in an LED. This would be possible with this IRremote. Yeah? So your task is all buttons of this remote control, they shall be recognized by the program. Okay, all buttons. So if you press power, power. If you press volume up, volume up. If you press play, pause, it should write play, pause. You have to find out somehow the codes of the buttons. Okay? It's easily possible with the program we just wrote. Yeah? And then you have to extend the program. This is how it should look like. Yeah? So you can press every button, power, volume plus, function, previous, next, play, down, up, volume minus, 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there is equal, and start and repeat. So all buttons on my remote control are giving the correct response. Okay. Yeah, so this is your task. Next time we're going to talk about stepper motors. Yeah? We will control again a motor. Yeah? Maybe in combination with the IRremote or not. For this time, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.